Welcome back to the Innovative Agency, everybody. Sharon Toerek here with you today. And so, as we're sitting here, it is almost early May 2026. It's conference season in agency land. And one of the happy things that occurs every once in a while is that one of our scheduled guests is somebody I actually get to run into in real life at an agency conference. And so that's the case today. With our guest, and I'm really excited for a lot of reasons, some of which the guest doesn't even know about, but which I'm gonna talk about in a second. So, Courtney, please say your last name so I don't mispronounce it. Is it Cotrupe?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Courtney Cotrupe.
All
That's
right, yay, first try. Courtney is the CEO of Partners in Napier, and one of the reasons why I'm so excited to have Courtney on the show is that I actually met Sharon Napier a long, long time ago, probably as long ago as when Ad Age magazine started having its small agency conferences. And I was at an early one of them. And Sharon was so, first of all, it's not easy to find another Sharon in the world.
yeah. Yeah,
And but we
Sharon Napier is
gravitate.
hard to mistake too.
We gravitate to each other. And secondly, I was so impressed to meet a woman founder of such a successful agency. And at that time, it was more rare than it is today. It's less rare now, I'm happy to say. But I'm excited that it may have taken a lot of years, Courtney, but we finally got the agency on the podcast, and I'm getting to ask you all the questions. So thank you for joining me. And it was lovely to have a chance to actually meet you in real life at a conference recently that we were
Yeah, thanks so much
attending
for
it.
having me. Really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
So, first of all, let's set the stage a little bit. Talk a little bit about Partners in Napier and the work that you do, the focus of the agency.
Sure, absolutely. So, Partners in Napier, so just for everyone, we are an integrated creative and media agency. And what we like to do and what we talk about, and actually it's very relevant, I think, when we talk about independent agencies, is really being clear about your positioning and what you do and being really clear about what it is that you're really good at. And so, we talk about how we wake sleeping giants by delivering renewed brand growth. And we believe that sleeping giants are brands with significant scale, they have a really great product, and most likely a very good heritage behind them. But they're not living up to their potential. They're probably stuck and they're just kind of punching below their weight. And so we really come in and help change how they move. So if you're stuck, you can't just solve it through a capability. We have to really think about it holistically. And so we bring creative media strategy together and really provide integrated solutions, integrated creative solutions to our clients. And that's what we do every single day for our clients. We're really proud. We celebrated our 20-year anniversary just a couple of years ago. So I guess that's 22 years.
Yeah.
And Sharon Napier and her founders started the agency many years ago, so 20 plus years ago. So it's really amazing to actually have an agency, an independent agency. She was a pioneer and her age still is and one of the top women in advertising and a mentor to many. And so when you talk about independent agencies and also a female founder, she definitely laid the groundwork for many that I know, and that's how you originally met Sharon,
Right.
got introduced to the agency.
Well, and I always appreciated, um, I don't know the whole story, but the parts of the story that I do know about the name, the origin story of the name behind the agency, how you led with partners, and I think that's relevant to several things that I want to talk about while I have time with you today. But let's start first. I know, Courtney, that you have a strong point of view about the role that agency culture plays in growth, in business development, probably in distinguishing yourself from your competitors. So, talk a little bit about how you came to that point of view and sort of how that lives and breathes in the agency, and maybe why you think it's relevant to how well a firm does right, with clients?
Yeah, I love that question. I think that culture in the independent agency environment is everything. It's really what distinguishes you. And oftentimes it's not just the work you do, but it's the way you do it. It's getting in there and how you work with your clients that ultimately dictates the length of your relationship and your chemistry and how well you work together. And so when I became CEO and my partner, Rob Kotkamp, who is our chief creative officer, we were, the agency was obviously in a really great place and it was about getting to that next level, new ambition and new places we want to go. It comes with new expectations. And so we had to really chart a new course, set a new vision. We grew with that and grew business, and the team obviously changed a lot. And so we had to define what is our new way. And that's really defining culture, like how you work, especially in a hybrid world, defining how you work. I think it seems simple, but it also is very, very critical to how you interact with your clients. And so this was really born from where the agency started and where Sharon and her partners started, just how you that like founder DNA, that entrepreneurial spirit, but it's not something that was ever articulated. So we defined our way, which was very simple in terms of the work we do, which is do the best work you can, no matter what work that is, make it easy for others to do their best work and hold each other accountable to that very same standard. And then each of our disciplines really carried that through, developing out their own kind of charters for their own disciplines about what that meant. And the agency really operates within our way. And that I think has been so critical in defining our culture. And it really becomes our promise to our clients. And so culture is like every little thing and every big thing that you do. But ultimately, it's, I think, the way in which it shows up and how we work that becomes so important for the longevity of the relationship that you have. And we're really proud. We have a tenure with our clients that's 3 times the industry average. So I think it's proof that what we're doing is working.
How did you go about the probably pretty awesome responsibility of having members of your team charter their cultures team by team and then harmonize all those so that you knew it was in alignment with what new leadership was going to prioritize? Because I could see how top-down culture
Hmm.
is relatively simple to communicate, but when you've got teams sort of expressing it in their own ways and shapes, there has to be some harmony to it, so that it doesn't get chaotic, I would imagine. So talk a little bit about how that process worked and how you made sure that everyone was on the same page as you were sort of reinventing or rebooting the agency.
Yeah, and I think it's one thing I think is really important. I think it was a continuation of who we were. It was really about like almost documenting in a more formal way this evolution and a raised expectation because our ambition was evolving, right? So it wasn't like it was a light switch. So that was an important factor. But
Mhm.
you're right, you don't want this kind of top-down approach. So we set the standard for our way, just in that's kind of more overarching format, and then the leaders were chosen for each of the disciplines, and we worked with them. They built it. They really created their 3 to 5 points that they felt were really important for how they would live it with their disciplines, and then we worked with them and workshopped it just like a creative process, honestly, and used what we do best. And then at the end of the day, they had to live it and feel it because they all presented it. We host an annual agency meeting, and every single discipline presented it back to the agency, because at the core, what it meant is it's how we all have to work together in this virtuous cycle. on behalf of the work, and the work is in the center. And if we are all focused on what's the most important thing, the work, we're delivering for our clients every day. So it was very collaborative, and it was incredibly inspiring to see how excited people were to actually share and the pride they felt about the discipline in which they worked and the respect they ended up showing and having for one another, because everyone really here is codependent on one another, whether you work in
Yeah.
HR or IT or creative or account,
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter. And it was a really, I would say, a beautiful process in the end.
What are some of the biggest ways you think this showed up in your client's experience working with the agency?
I think that the end in the way in which we look at all of the work, it's about having a shared expectation for what we deliver.
Mm.
So no matter what it is that we're working on, we're holding ourselves and each other accountable for delivering the very best product we can for that client. And so it's a shared understanding of the value of what it is that the agency is putting out in the world for the client. And so there's no debate about like whether, oh, the client cares about that or the client doesn't care about that. It's having the pride and the expectation in what you do and knowing that it's your responsibility to help the other person be just as successful because you have that shared understanding of what it is that the agency is delivering for the client. So they are, it's this kind of exchange that we have where they know that we're holding ourselves accountable to that product, and they will have the same high expectation for it. So it's
Is-
so far it's been a really interesting dialogue to have with their clients about it.
Does did did you intentionally sort of change the client's expectations about the way you would be communicating with them, or the frequency of the communication, or the different ways you would measure success? Or because I think I think what's challenging sometimes, at least this is what other agency owners that I speak to tell me, is that you make shifts internally and it's not always apparent to the client either how hard you're working to create an experience that's as strong as the work product itself, right? Because
Hmm.
there's the experience and there's the business result you're helping them achieve with the work that the agency does. But they're not always seeing. It's kind of like ducks with their feet, paddling really hard underneath the surface of the water. Were you intentional about creating conversations with your clients about the fact that the agency was doing this, making this change deliberately, or this evolution maybe deliberately, or did you kind of just plug it into the way you were serving them and it just showed up in the results?
Yeah, I think it's been more gradual, I guess. Like I said, it
Yeah.
wasn't a light switch. I think we've been talking, and it's been a part of the expectations that we have been setting all along the way. So
Hmm.
it's showed up over time in how we've been hiring and how we've been working through our performance reviews and the language and how we've been running creative reviews and our expectations. And this was really about the documentation and all of that and the culmination of it. And so I'm not sure it was kind of this dramatic shift and change, but it's all about, as you grow and scale, your ambition grows and scales. You kind of acquire new types of clients. You end up kind of playing in a different field. Things change, and so your expectations of yourselves have to kind of change along with that. And that was really what it was. It was really about.
Got it. I love that. What was the experience like of taking over leadership of an agency from its original founders, right? Because that's a handoff that it can be tricky from a business perspective, but it's also tricky emotionally, I would imagine, for all of you, right? Stepping in, stepping aside, stepping away. What was that transition experience like? Let's start with for Courtney as a leader.
Yeah. It's something, I think succession, when done really well, and I'm really proud of it, is when it's done very planfully and you have to really listen to the agency. I've worked at the agency for a very long time, so It was something that we'd have done when it was right for the agency and when it was right for both of us. Sharon's also still very involved in the business. She is
Mhm.
our executive chair and founder. She's involved in growth and very key relationships. So she isn't gone. It's not like she walked
Yeah.
away or anything like that.
Yeah.
Um, and that was a really important part of this as well. And I think you have to manage it incredibly, like with very delicate care when you're doing any sort of succession and with incredible respect. So that's what I would say we have done and continue to do because relationships you can never take for granted on all sides and in any business. And it's something that I'm proud of. And I'm also, I don't, again, I don't take it for granted. And I think about my privilege and responsibility in that every single day to both kind of honor and carry the heritage and what we've built together. I've been lucky in that I've grown up here at the agency and with Sharon and learning from her and her partners, and also helping to grow the agency in kind of its next chapter.
Yeah, I mean it's a challenging evolution, right? Because you're especially being there for a long time and having worked under the original founders, it's you're playing at a different level now. That's got to be a tremendous evolution for you as an executive and a leader within the agency. And I imagine some people who were your peers before now you are their leader or one of their leaders. And that's really a growth experience. And growth is both wonderful and challenging depending on the day, right?
As always. And I think
Yeah.
that happens regardless of whether you're becoming a CEO or you're transitioning from an account executive to an account supervisor. And, that's those things happen all the time in growth when you have ambition and you want to move in your career where you're moving out from within maybe a group of peers into a new level. And that's all part of growth, like becoming comfortable with those uncomfortable moments and knowing how to manage those. And you hope that you have been a really good peer and that you've been really good in those relationships and paid it forward, and then also know and take responsibility for what your new role is, and understand that you have a new job and you have a new job to do, and at the end of the day, it's your responsibility to make decisions that are in the best interest of our clients first and the agency second, and then the team and the people. And I think if you can make those decisions in that order, you're never going to make a bad decision.
So I'd like to get your perspective. Your agency is a long-standing, well-regarded, independent, lots of success, lots of great campaigns under its belt, well known in the industry. And so you all have seen a lot of industry change from the vantage point of an independent. Um, what is the landscape? Let's talk about from the business development perspective. Um, it's been a challenging couple of years for a lot of independent agencies, not all, but a lot of them. And how do you feel today sitting here versus maybe 24 months ago about the landscape of opportunity for independents out there? And where are you seeing the opportunities for wins, do you think, as an independent agency leader?
I love this question. I um I think there's never been a better time to be an independent agency. I think I've heard you say this actually before, Sharon. Um, I think there's also never been a harder time to be an independent agency, but there's always tension, right? When there's good and there's also challenges. All of the consolidation, there's so many new agencies, types of competition popping up, right?
Mhm.
Um, but so that puts more pressure on, but it's also really exciting. It kind of goes back to how I started, I guess, where the pressure is it requires you to have a really clear point of view about who you are. And I think that's a good thing for all of
Mhm.
us, right? The more competition, it it makes you up your game. It makes you really like look inward and say, who am I? Who am I good for? Who am I not good for? What are the types of clients that we want to really do business with and that we can do our best work with? So I think when it comes to independent agencies, it can be very good in this environment because it's going to be great for clients because there's a lot of options, and it's great for us as independents because it forces us to create more clarity, and in that way it opens our aperture for who's going to be right for us by actually refining our focus, if that makes sense. So I think the landscape is great because of all the change, and I'm seeing, I think everybody was like sitting tight for a while, and now we're
Yeah.
seeing things a little more movement in the marketplace, which is obviously good when it comes to the independents.
Yeah, I mean, I think that uncertainty more than anything else kills business. And when things move slowly or brands take forever to make decisions or they reverse course on decisions and something you were revving up to do then gets put on a back burner. These are the kinds of things that give agency leaders really heartburn. And I think what you're saying is consistent what I'm hearing from a lot of independent agencies who seem to feel a little bit better now than maybe this time 12 or 18 months ago,
Yeah.
about opportunities and also about the speed of those opportunities to make it through their pipeline, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think we were saying 18 months ago, I think there was a time when it was almost stalled. And
Yes,
I think there's definitely more movement now. So you like movement, and you hear from your peers, like how are things going? How are things, for you? And you hear there's a lot more activity. And I think that's the a refreshing part about being an independent too, is that you compete one day with independents, but they're also your peers and your friends and people that you really root for. And so it's a tight community that you learn from, and you understand what's also happening in the marketplace. So
right.
yes, I think it's definitely open.
Well, and I think one of the beautiful side effects, if you will, of everybody getting back together in real life more frequently than we were, even recently, is we can have these vulnerable conversations like, how's it going for you? How's it going for you? Where are you
Yeah.
winning? Where are you? And these are not easy conversations to have. And of course, you're not going to show up at an awards event for agencies and talk about this kind of stuff because it just doesn't fit the venue, if you will, or the setting. But I think it's a really healthy, positive development that there's room for these kind of candid and vulnerable conversations between agencies about how it's really going and where the opportunities are, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to have a network to be able to lean on to ask questions, and have you ever done this before, and hey, I'm looking to build this, and I know you did that, and what did you learn from it? When you're an independent, you don't have that same infrastructure, right? So you
Right.
have to use the people to be able to learn from, or if you're not part of, any sort of independent holding company, rely on the 4As or indie agency news or the Network One or places that you can go to help you as you grow and scale.
Right. Let's talk about collaboration for a minute because I think it feels to me as an observer of the industry that one of the big opportunities is actual agency to agency collaboration. Sometimes that's teaming to get bigger opportunities, or sometimes that's the ability to have a trusted partner, to take on part of an opportunity you might not be 100% suited for, but maybe your agency is 80% suited for it, whatever it might be. Um, I know that the agency you have a leadership in Project Worldwide, which is, I assume, an agency network.
Mhm.
Talk a little bit about what you see the opportunities look like for independent agencies to win collaboratively. Because I think that's something that maybe we don't surface often enough in the agency space.
Yeah, I think collaboration is everything. I mean, new business is where you innovate, right? It's where you kind of
Mhm.
push the boundaries and you take yourself to that edge. And you got to know when you're just at that edge, when it's that point where you're saying, okay, that's enough. Now I need to bring in that
Yep.
specialist, right?
Yep.
Like
Yep.
you're just going to kind of dance with the devil a
We're
little bit
getting
and then
nervous. We need help. Yeah.
right, right. So, and that's where collaboration comes in, and that's the key to scaling too, right? It's that like you push yourself to that edge, you bring in someone to help you collaborate, and that's how you kind of you do that, and then you grow, and then you do that, and you grow, or you build your partners around, and then you decide you're going to buy, or how that works, and build and grow and scale. But in general, collaboration is just how we all have to go to market. And I think for us, it's in our DNA. It's how we have grown up just collaborating naturally as an agency that's in an off market. You just kind of that's how you get to be where you are. Um, we're very lucky in that we are part of Project Worldwide, whom you spoke about.
Mhm.
And we are 13 specialist agencies, and we're really fueled by a culture of founders. And that means that we're soul and structure of an independent, but we have the scale of a global network.
Mhm.
And it's very unique in that way. So every agency brings their best in class specialty to the table. And that means that we are complementary, we're not competitive. So collaboration really is what we are built for as an alliance. And we have this shared founders DNA. So there's this real kind of grit and spirit and hustle that's part of the network and desire to really win and help our clients. And it's got this foundation of these trusted relationships. So people who just know and like to work with one another. And that I think is so important when it comes to collaboration, right? When it works, it's because you have these shared goals and you have a clear leader and you really understand and like one another and want to work together for this shared goal. And
Mhm.
when it falls down, you're probably culturally not aligned and you don't have the same standards of the work product, and you're not pointed in the same direction. So finding those kind of like-minded specialist extensions of yourself is so critical, I think, today in order to best serve our clients as indies.
Right. And so this is a network of independent agencies, or this is a hold co with
We
independent
are we are
agencies
wholly
underneath?
owned. We are wholly
Okay,
owned, but what
got it.
makes us really unique is that we are employee owned. So we are an ESOP.
Hmm.
We are not Wall Street owned. So we make decisions truly based on what's best for our clients, and that is incredibly refreshing. Um,
Yeah.
and that is something that is very unique to who we are. And clients are just really energized by that, and they feel that and the passion. And the founders are still many of whom are still part of the network and or the alliance. That's a big part of the spirit of who we are as well.
Hmm. This might be an unfair question to ask you, but I'm going to ask it
Go
anyway.
for it. I don't know how I'm going to answer it, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. How do you feel like the infusion of PE money in the independent agency market space has been a positive development for indies?
I don't, let's see. Well, I'm, I don't know how to answer it in terms of I will be uneducated because it's not part of how we are funded.
No, I know that. No,
Um,
I think that's why I'm asking, and it's a totally unfair question, but I wonder sometimes as an observer, like I said, I don't own an agency, I just represent agencies. I honestly don't know yet how I
yeah,
feel about the amount of M&A activity in the independent agent, and we're seeing smaller and smaller deals than I have ever seen
yeah,
in my history of working with
tons.
agencies. And we're also seeing a lot of PE money being thrown into the pile to make it possible for these roll-ups to happen. And I don't know that I how I feel about whether it's actually good for the agencies, the work product they turn out, I'm just not sure how I feel about it. I don't know what experiences people are sharing with you who've sort of gone that route or had an opportunity to go that route, but um, it's such a big part of the conversation
It
now
is.
when it comes to collaboration.
I mean, in terms of scaling, it's one way to scale, right? And the investments to be able to do that,
Yeah,
to be able to grow a capability, to be able to grow and make investments that are needed. What becomes potentially a challenge is on the back end of that and the expectations for delivery on that. And then what does that mean in terms of for the client? So I
right.
don't know the answer to that. It's in some ways, is it just an alternate holdco type model, but in through a different lens? I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'm quite happy with an ESOP where,
yeah.
literally we are all owners and we all look at each other as owners and treat each other as owners. And that's what I think is a really unique model that I haven't seen to this scale really exist yet.
Well, and you can set whatever metrics of success you want to as an ESOP, being employee owned, and you can change them as often as you agree to change
Mhm.
them. You have a lot less flexibility when it's third party money, I think, coming into the
Exactly.
equation. And you're also being held to different numbers, different milestones, different pillars of accountability that I don't know. I'm not sure at the end of the day they're net good for agencies or not, but I think you're right too that it depends on the circumstances. And it's another way of giving agency owners who are ready to, move on in succession options. So I'll give it that
Correct.
anyway. Yeah. Well, if you had a crystal ball, Courtney, what do you think the next 12 to 18 months is going to look like for independent agencies?
Crystal ball, huh? Uh,
Yeah. I got tired of the magic wand question, so now I like to throw a crystal ball in.
yeah, I hope there'll be a lot of surprise wins, maybe some that'll be like, huh, I never really thought about that. I think there's some interesting things happening when it comes to scale as it relates to what tech is offering for
Mhm.
independent agencies
Mhm.
and growth. So I think there could be some interesting wins that maybe would be unexpected. Um, so that is one that's maybe out there. And some acquisitions also, maybe some interesting acquisitions. These little guys that have popped up over the last 18 months, maybe they'll
Mhm.
be 3 to 5 years old or so. And I know the marketplace is pretty hot when it comes to M&A. So people are ready. If they're ready, they could be gobbled up, and we'll see.
Awesome. This has been such a fun conversation. I'm so glad that I had an opportunity to talk directly with you. It's hard to do when you're at a big event and to get focused one-on-one time. And so I'm really grateful, Courtney, to you for taking the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that the agency owners and leaders listening to this are going to get a lot of inspiration sort of out of your story and your point of view about a lot of things. So, where can people find out more about the agency's work and focus and connect with you if they'd like to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. You can definitely check out our website. You can hit me up on LinkedIn, and either of those just would love to connect. So thank you very much.
Or at a conference near you, right?
Yeah, for sure.
At a small agency, probably the next one that I can think of anyway. All right, Courtney, thank you so much for joining us. And everyone else, thanks for joining us as well. We will see you on the next episode. And until then, everybody stay well.